So we are in the middle, according to this new print, the top paragraph on page Ches. The line starts with the word Av b'Yoser.
Rabbi, yesterday we mentioned that the physical brain resides in the physical head because there's more chayas and ar in the head.
Right.
I'm just wondering, how do we see that in the text? I was confused about it.
All right. Find the line that begins with the word Hakeli.
Okay.
At the end of that, Horoisha v'mizigo v'arkova b'chinas chemer dak. Shemzehu kene muchen yesher lebe chayz ha-nefesh. Al kein meir shom ein ha-nefesh begilu b'yesek. L'hainu sheminim shom kal kochas analim sheb'nefesh.
Right.
But the kochas analim, this is the kochas that mislabish in the brain.
The kochas that are mislabish in the brain.
Yeah, and the brain is.
It sounds like the reish itself is not the.
No, the reish, it does. The reish has some mislabish in l'chayz ha-nefesh, and the kochas some mislabish in the particular evonim within the reish. But as we explained, that even though the oil v'chayus ha-nefesh, like oil, that's what it's called, oil. Oil is a light. The example of light that we have in a tangible manner is oil ha-shemesh. Oil ha-shemesh shines indiscriminately. Wherever it's allowed in the mirrors, and the place does not have to be suitable to be illuminated. Because Oil HaShemesh is not an Oil Pnimi, no Makifi. Because the Shemesh is not a Pnimi. He does not have a Pnimi, does not have an intent in terms of its shining. It's shining automatically. The Nefesh, on the other hand, has a Pnimi. In other words, it has an intent element in it. The Nefesh gives off chayas volitionally, not automatically. And therefore, the nefesh, the chayas ha-nefesh, the very chayas ha-nefesh, the very fact that there is life also is discriminant. It will be manifest in the right place where that place which is suited for it. And the place that is not suited for it will not be manifest. So we are saying that this oil v'chayis ha-nefesh, for example, is misgala as oil v'chayis, which is besides the infant hislapshus, but just the presence of chayis in the head is differently than it is in the foot. This is what we discussed yesterday, and we made the point clear. I just want to add an additional notch to the clarity so that we understand the contrast. The foot is alive, and so is the head alive. The foot is alive principally to the extent that it is living, it's not rotting away. It's keeping the body parts fresh, living. Does not manifest a life, an element that is exclusively life. It keeps the bone living so that the bone doesn't disintegrate. Yes, there is also a koyach hanefesh mislavish in the foot, the koyach halicha. But how is that koyach halicha compared to the oil ha-sechel that mislavish, that's misgali in the brain? The oil ha-sechel is mislavish in the brain, and misgal in the brain also because there is a nefesh chayis in the head. But the nefesh chayus in the head is of such a caliber, of such refinement, of such supremacy, that as a result of this chayus, sechel is misgala. The insight of sechel is misgala there. In other words, the chayus hanefesh that comes to the end is not merely to keep it alive so that it doesn't fall apart, but it actually functions on the level of nefesh. Seichel is a nefesh level of an activity. Halicha is a goof level of activity. Seichel is a nefesh level of activity. Like we always quote from the Rambam, that seichel is based on the prior recognition that there's a first being. The whole principle of knowledge, of understanding, is based on a guided presence rather than a physical presence. That is provided by the nefesh, that's mislavish in the head. And that level of nefesh, that gilui of nefesh in the head is infinitely greater than that gilui of nefesh than the way it is misgala in the foot, which is also misgala, because as I said, the foot is alive, which is infinitely superior to physicality. Physical and an entity cannot last but a minute. The nefesh in the foot keeps the foot alive for as long as the nefesh is in the foot. But that chayas nefesh that misgala in the foot is much reduced relative to the chayas nefesh that misgala in the head. Where in the head you sense not only that it's alive, but you sense the life qualities that elements that emanate from the nefesh. You think on the life level. What's reality as far as the head is concerned? Motzei. What's reality as far as the food is concerned? What hits me? Where can I step? It's a completely different reality. So, we are saying that this chayas hanefesh is not mislabish in a particular aver. It is a general chayas hanefesh present to the nefesh. But because that the nefesh per se is a pnimi, the nefesh is misgala intentionally. This is why it discriminates as to where it will be misgala and to what extent. In the head it will be misgala in a different way than in the foot. Okay.
As the Or Chayis gets distributed by the Nefesh, it has already anticipated that the Keli of each of the different Avorim are going to receive different levels of Or and Chayis. In the sense that the head, it senses that due to its makeup, that it will receive a greater quality and a greater measure.
Right, you're asking whether the Nefesh anticipates that, or it happens when it hits the head?
Well, I'm not sure how I like to have a sense of it.
Although, the truth is, from what it appears in Bichlal Chassidus, that this Oir V'chayis HaNefesh is an Oir Makif, which means it does not subdivide it in its source, but of it is misgala in the goof, that which is suitable to that particular part of the goof. And the reason for that is because it's by definition Oir Pnimi. The head is capable of appreciating and sensing this Oir HaNefesh that provides for sechel. Which is why in the head, this is the Oir HaChayis that's manifested in the head. The foot is not suited for that. That's why it's not misguided
there. That it's suitable is in measure, in a quantity?
No, quality.
Quality also.
No, quality.
That's
the head is, as you said, has a finer structure, and this is why in the head is misgalet the way of Chayis HaNefesh. Chayis HaNefesh at a stage, at a level, in a manner that brings out the sechel. I don't know if we can. Yes, I explained before. The primary difference between head and foot is, of course, we say head has sechel, the foot doesn't have sechel. What's unique about sechel versus keich hatanua?
It seeks origin.
Okay. Let me take that up, because this is where we're coming from. When you say it's seeking, you're coming from a negative perspective, from not knowing. But what is the sechel? How does it know that there is such thing as an origin? To seek it. Now I'm going to start looking for something that doesn't exist.
It knows it from the place that it came.
In other words, the Rin HaSeichel, as we mentioned all the time, is the fundamental knowledge of a Motzei Rishi. Seichel is not based on the fact that there is a goof, and that there is a world. Seichel is based on the fact that there is a Motzei Rishi. It's a different reality, different basic reality. Whereas the Chayis HaNefesh that's in the foot is based on the fact that there is a foot. And there is a ground upon which you can treat. It's a different level of chayus that's manifest in the head, in contrast to that what's manifest in the foot.
On the other hand, none of the Avorim would challenge the other one to say, I want what you have, because it also has it's coming from a place where it's supposed to serve from where it came. I mean, so the foot wouldn't say, I want what you bring, I want what you have, because it's so to speak has a panimi.
Isn't that interesting that you should think of that? Because we are in a competitive world. To us, reality is competition. So if the foot is not a competition with the hand, that's odd. That doesn't define reality. The foot and the head, and the entire and everything, the head included, are all representative of the nefesh, as we said before, in the godly mission of the nefesh.
Oh, that's what I wanted to say. That therefore, there would not be this disorientation of purpose, because there is a purpose.
Yeah, of course there is.
That's what I wanted to say with that comment.
But I understand what you're saying, but I just want to add, interesting how we think. The foot is whatever it is. The Baal Shem Tov says that the Ish Poshut can reach a highest madrigas than a great Talmid Chacham. And he says, Talmid Chacham is envious of the Ish Poshut. Okay? Because the Koyach HaNefesh, Mitzad Ruchnis, Mitzad Elokus, he has more, he's closer than the Talmid Chacham. He's more worldly and he's more godly. All right. Let's see if we can just make any progress here. We will start in the middle of this paragraph. Let's finally make some progress. Okay, the mamash in the middle, the line begins with Av b'Yoser. That there's a distinction in terms of the material of which the various avorim are made of, and as a result of these differences, the finer the material, the more suitable they are, the more sensitive they are to the Ur HaNefesh, and therefore they are capable of providing for higher koiches. So in the foot, the choimer, the very material with which the foot is made, is coarse, and therefore alkein Ur HaNefesh mitzumtzum shom b'Yeser, the Ur HaNefesh, the light of the nefesh, is very, very much reduced and contracted. And similarly, again, all of these different levels and similarities is to point out how everything in the slapshas and nefesh, in the guf, has a pnimi quality, meaning it has to relate to the place where it is. Similarly, slapshas hakoiches eboseh, when the koiches interrelate, where shehakoyach ho'elyon mislab es bekeich hatachtein where the higher koyach is mislabish, is imbued in the lower koyach. Ukmoya, as an example, has sechel she mislabish b'midas. The sechel can be mislabish in midas. As we already discussed it previously, the union that seichel brings out midas is not an unreal, discordant, this dissociated element. The midah is never really dissociated from the seichel. The midah is maintained by the seichel that it initially created it. The midah also has chayas, and the chayas and the midah is the seichel that created the midah. And the seichel is mislavish in the midah. Just to put it in a clear terminology, a person has midas chesed, and he really feels chesed. Inherent in that midah is the seichel that created the midah, and the seichel that justifies and says chesed is a good thing. Chesed is not merely that which I like, but chesed is a good thing. It's the right way. And then there's a seichel that gives justification and gives presence for the midah. So the seichel mislabish midah. V'chein b'koyach hatnuah v'hayiluch. Similarly, the seichel is mislabish in the koyach of tenuah, the koyach of movement, and the koyach hahiluch. In everything there is a seichel. This is the chayas hanefesh that percolates down into all the koyches. Harehu ba b'bchinas his chalkus. So that seichel, even though this is a way of seichel, which is a koyach proti, this is mislabish in the lower koyches, it is there also discriminately mislabish. B'chinas is chalkus in a subdivision in a specific manner. Meishin is boil yil, as we explained earlier. The oil has seichel hamislabish v'midas. That is, oil has seichel that is imbued in midas. Harehu b'chinas chitzonius haseichel avod. In the midas, you get only the bechina, what's called chitzonius haseichel. Chitzonius haseichel essentially means that this is right. As I said, this is right. Seichel itself is not identified by this is right and this is wrong. Seichel is identified by this is the truth. But midas do not relate directly to that terminology. Then the seichel is an assumption, and it comes down to a more practical level in terms of right and wrong, good and bad. And this is what mislav. This is the chitzonius of seichel. Ubekeich hatunua, and then further down in koyach hatunua, mislabesh rak seichel hamaisi. There, koyach hatunua, such as when you use the hand to draw a picture, so you're using the koyach hatunua in the hand, but what are you doing with it? A seicheling. As we explained throughout this scene many times, that the koyach hatunua itself does not relate to the drawing. The highest Ayin that it can relate to is making us a line. But a drawing that represents a seichel concept, the koyach hatunua does not relate to. How then is it accomplished? It is by the seichel relating mislabish in the koyach hatunua. So, which part of the mislav of the seichel is mislabish in koyach hatunua? Mislabish rak seichel hamaisi. There is mislabish only in sechel hamaisi, the sechel, the lowest level, it's called the maisi of action. This I think we can understand, and it will be behooves us to understand it, like an opening for understanding other fine things. The concept itself that you're drawing is a sechel inyan. The hand, the koyach hatnuah shaviyad will never understand it. Why are you telling me to make a picture like this? I don't know. I can't understand why you're telling me to make a picture like this. That remains in the sechel. In the sechel, however, this picture is not in terms of what you make and how you make it. In the sechel, this picture represents a certain concept, a sechel concept. That remains in the sechel. Of that, it missamsim further and becomes sechel hamaisi. How do you do that? You take a picture of a picture of a human face. A human face does not consist of lines and shades. It consists of a living face. But in order to render it on paper, the sechel has to break it down into lines and shades. And then, how do you make this shade and how do you make this light? That final step, how you make this shade, how you make this light, this is mislabish and koyach hatnuah. It's also part of the sechel. But this is the last level of sechel. It's called sechel hamaisi, sechel of action. She'ein zeh atzmos ha-sechel klal, which is not the etzem of sechel at all. This is not how the sechel perceives this picture, consisting of these lines and shades. Yitzchak, right?
Right.
Thank you. If I were wrong, you tell me, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I know that. I've seen that. Okay, so let's finish this thing. Etzem or mahuz ha-seichel. But the essence and the mahuz, the very reality of seichel. Reality of seichel means what enables us to actually perceive and conceive this inyan. That is exclusively in the Meyach Sheberosh. Because this is literally a neshama element. A nefesh element. And the Meyach Sheberosh is a keli for that type of oil. And this is it for this morning.
I just want to say quickly, Tzvi Seawald has offered to host the Fabringham on
Oh boy!
on Purim. So
This is
it's Hashem around 9 o'clock on Purim. We'll
back to home.
9 o'clock, yeah.
Purim night.
9 o'clock is going to start?
I think so. I don't think it's going to be.
Malkeinu